Hello good yo-yo people, I'm Nate and this is Let's Talk Yo-Yo and Happy New Year. So this is my first review of the year and that is of the Resto, short for Restoration, by Old School Throws. This is my review of the Resto. I had my eye on this yo-yo ever since I saw just kind of teaser photos on Instagram, and I immediately messaged him. I was like, man, I love the look of that slimline yo-yo. I really like the fact that you're kind of doing something completely different. That's kind of Old School Throws' thing. Their debut yo-yo was the Quint. I reviewed that as well. If you haven't checked that out, you should go check that out. Just kind of see a little bit of what their philosophy of yo-yoing is all about. But I really like the look of this yo-yo. I love slimline yo-yos. I love a yo-yo I can put in my pocket. That's really not going to be bulky and uncomfortable if I'm sitting down or I have to take it out or whatever, right? I also don't like really super large phones, you know, for the same reason. Maybe my pants are too tight. I don't know. Probably. This yo-yo really appealed to me because it is bimetal and slimlined. So you're going to get that slimline design, which sometimes on slimline yo-yos you don't necessarily get a stable yo-yo, or maybe even long spinning, because there's just less metal and there's less weight typically. And you really have to adjust for making a lot of rim weight. Well, because this is bimetal and intentionally putting more weight on the rims, you would think that you're gonna get a little bit more of a stable yo-yo. But we'll go ahead and see that on the string section, and we'll talk about that more when we play it. I really like the profile of this. It kind of opens up as much as you can on a slimline yo-yo, so it's not really high-walled at all. It just kind of flares out quite a bit for a slimline yo-yo. I mean, it's not a wide gap because it's slimline in profile, but it's fairly decent gap opened up. Flat area here, it's not necessarily going to be good for finger spins. There's a slight little kind of mound here. It's kind of hard to tell. You'll probably see it over on the flyover, but it's not really much there. Not really like a dome, but just kind of a slight little mound there. Nice blast to it. I like that clear. I've been collecting a lot of these sort of stainless steel bimetal with clear ano. It looks good. It's really classy and looks really nice with this zip line. This is the Scales edition. Has a nice color to it. White would look good on this too, just FYI. What else to say? This would maybe be a potential candidate for responsive play as well, but that's not how I have it set up. That's not how I've played it, so I'm not really going to talk about that much. It doesn't really come with that option, and nor has Old School Throws really sort of hinted at that. But you could put a slimline bearing in that. That's probably what I'd recommend for this. It's a fun yo-yo. It's really unique. I think it's a really cool contribution to the yo-yo community right now, both as a yo-yo and as a company. So let's go ahead and play it and see how it plays on the string. So welcome back to the On the String section with the Resto by Old School Throws. I really enjoyed this yo-yo. I've actually had this yo-yo, I forgot to mention that, before it even had a name. I was chatting back and forth on Instagram with the owner and realized, oh yeah, you never told me what the name was. And he's like, well, I actually don't have a name for it yet. So I've kind of held off a little bit until I had a name for the review, but I really like the name Restoration, sort of like putting new parts in an old car. That's kind of their model, really. So slimline yo-yos are definitely an old school sort of way of designing yo-yos. It was actually really not considered slimline back in the day. Now there's sort of almost a novelty, but there's some really cool things that you can do with slimline, and just kind of that comfy sort of EDC and carry it around. You don't really feel like I don't know, it's just comfortable. Speaking of, we'll put it in the pocket and we'll show you how it kind of fits there. These are slim jeans, but yeah, I mean, it's sitting right there and it's really not that bad. It's not uncomfortable at all. It doesn't really, you know, I could sit down with it and it's not really gonna like be uncomfortable. Let's go ahead and do some of those standard tricks I've been doing for my reviews, and here we go. All right, Eli hops, anything like that where you're going to be, you know, trying to have an open gap yo-yo, you're really going to have to be careful with your technique. You know, if you remember whenever you first learned Eli hops that you're wanting to land it closest to your non-throw hand, well, you're going to make sure you want to do that, because if you're landing it back here, well, you know, you're going to probably miss. So slimline yo-yos like this maybe can help with some of your technique, making sure that you get those hits well. See? Yeah, projections are really decent with that. Opens up fairly nice, has a nice, oh, I can do a proper magic drop here. Yeah. It's fairly stable for a slimline because of that bimetal design. It's kind of a really cool thing. It has some decent spin times too, has decent amount of power for what you would expect. And like I said, very stable. Let's go ahead and try some regens here. Actually, regens are really fun on this because it's just kind of aerodynamic. The catch is not bad on this either because of that gap shape. It opens up enough that it doesn't hurt on a catch. Some slimline yo-yos might, just because they don't cover your full hand, especially for people with larger hands, can be a little uncomfortable, but the edges on this are really smoothed off and the gap's fairly decent. So even on a harder throw, catches really aren't bad at all. Let's go ahead and test that grind finish. It's not bad. It does tilt just a little bit. I mean, maybe it's my fat fingers, but you can kind of hit that gap here. I also am double jointed, if you've never noticed that. So it's hard to kind of straighten my fingers properly. But that's not bad. Let's try to see if we can pop it up in IRG. Again, you kind of have one. It's going to be difficult. I can kind of tilt it a little bit. There you go. If you tilt it, you can get it. But at least for me, because it's not very deep in there, but it does hook in a little bit, so if you tilt it, you could do that. As far as finger spins are concerned, you're not really gonna get much. Maybe doing a vortex is not the best idea, but maybe. Okay. Same thing with, you know, ooh, okay, yeah, that's a challenge. This yo is not meant for that. This is not meant to push for competition. It is not a performance-driven yo-yo. That's kind of really not the philosophy, at least so far, of old school throws. They're kind of just making a throw that's enjoyable, that's a toy that plays really well, that you can still, you know, perform really well with it. You're just not going to be able to necessarily hit all those sort of competition-driven type tricks, especially things like horizontal. It's not going to be ideal because the gap just isn't that big, and it's not flared out in the profile. But it has some really other cool options, just being a really awesome, fun throw. I really enjoy this yo-yo. It's super fun. Let's go ahead and throw one of my old school tricks. Really fun yo-yo to do front style with. Man, I really like the Resto. Like I said, I kind of liked it just from looking at the pictures. I was like, I need that yo-yo. I really like it. I really like what Old School Throws is doing and their sort of approach to yo-yo, and I think that's what we need right now. We need more companies that are putting out good products that are making just toys. Maybe not taking themselves as serious in the competition side, but understanding that it is fun and it's a toy. So really like the Resto. You should check it out. That's my first review of 2019. And as usual, good day and good yo-yo.